Good morning, Bertina. This is actually Renata speaking. Nicole wanted me to share with everyone that she's running a little bit behind this morning, so I'm going to put a note up just in case I step away and someone chimes in. But she's going to try and get everything started by 10:30. So if you want to run and get some coffee or grab something to eat, she should be here shortly. You can type any questions you have in the chat, and I'll try and take those until she gets here. Hi, Stephanie. I see you just joined. It's Renata. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. I just spoke to Nicole. She had something she had to run out and take care of, but she said she was going to get started by 10:30 this morning. So please type in the chat or just raise your hand and let me know if you can see my screen. I just put up a note in case anyone else shows up and I have to step away. They'll be able to see that we'll get started here in about 15 minutes. If you want to grab a cup of coffee or grab a bite to eat, she should be here shortly. If you have any questions about last week's session, I don't know if I was actually able to attend last week's session, but if you have any questions about your e-commerce business and you want to type those in the chat or unmute yourself, I don't know if I can set that up, then I'll answer what I can until she gets here. Hope you guys really had a great week in your e-commerce businesses. Things are constantly changing. We got a lot of things going on in the e-commerce world. So if you have been following the plan, stick to the plan, going out and doing your sourcing, you should be finding a ton of great items as we are headed into Q4. I've been doing my regular weekly sourcing, but typically I'm finding such good items that I'm having to go back and do additional sourcing. Typically, I only source one day out of the week. I spend that full day sourcing. I know we talked about everyone having their own methodology, but the one day a week that I've been going, if I find something, I've been coming home and actually calling the stores, calling around, trying to see if there's any place local that I can get those items. I'm not spending a lot of time in the stores right now because of everything that's going on, but I have been going online, searching Google Shopping just to see if other locations actually have some of those same items. So that's just another idea. I'm trying to get over to the chat. If you guys have any questions, you can type those in the chat and I'll try and get to those. My screen is just spinning now, so I'm not sure if you can see my screen. It says it's sharing, but I can't get over to the chat right now. Yes, Stephanie, we're going to be doing mastery sessions all year long. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but once this session is over, a new one will start up. Today, Nicole's actually covering outsourcing. So I'm sure that from a logical standpoint, once you're done with this, we're going into a couple of challenges and that sort of thing inside our membership group. So as soon as she gets here, you can ask her what that next mastery session will be. But we're doing different platforms. So we've got eBay and Amazon going on concurrently now. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's going to be Walmart and Shopify next. But we just want to make sure we check with her and see. How are you guys liking this mastery session? I've been chiming in, just trying to capture questions and do different work for Nicole while she's actually teaching the session. But when I tell you that this information has been amazing, we've had some members that have actually applied some of the teachings that Nicole has talked about, and they're seeing some awesome successes in their business. That's what this 12 weeks is about. You actually getting some wins and doing the work. So it's twofold. It gets rid of all the excuses. You've got some accountability here. And then, of course, you can always come back and ask questions as you're going through the material. So this was her great mastermind as far as putting a mastery session together so that people could get some actual wins as they went along instead of kind of floundering and figuring out things as you go and making mistakes as you go. You have the opportunity to come here and ask people who are actually working in their e-commerce businesses questions about the tips and tools that we're giving you, finding your own groove in terms of, the timing and how much time you're going to spend and what timing works best for you. And then, you can go back and watch these sessions after the fact. Apply everything as you're going along, whether it's creating a listing or creating a shipment or whatever that looks like, getting those shipments out the door and actually reaching your 12-week goals. So she was having trouble. She would have just started it. She's great about being able to multitask, but she just got a new phone, as did I, and she didn't have everything that she needed apparently loaded on it to be able to get everything started. And the other piece to that is a lot of times the apps don't have all the same features. You might be able to get into them, but you're not able to do everything that you can do when you're sitting at the desktop. So. Okay, well, I'm going to go grab my smoothie, and I'll check back in just a minute and see if you guys have any additional questions if she hasn't made it here, but just feel free to type them in the chat, and I'll answer them as they come up. Okay, sugar, be safe. Text me if anything changes. Wear your mask. Text me if anything changes. Okay. I thought it was. Okay. If you have court information, send it to me. I may try to come. Your protein or drink. Okay, thank you. Hi, Bertina. Okay, so when you're scanning, you're ungated in one ASIN, but still shows restricted for a single item. Excuse me. So when it comes to bundling, our overarching rule is the main item. So typically we like to build I don't know what type of bundle it is, but just as an example, if it's a bundle for Christmas or a holiday, oftentimes we'll have a toy in it. So we would take that main item, possibly the biggest item, maybe the most expensive item, and build a bundle around that. But if you're using that item in a bundle and it allows you to list the ASIN because you've got either a GTIN number or your own UPC code, then you can list that bundle. What I'm doing right now, just because Amazon's being so fickle, is when I'm creating bundles, I do a lot of multi-packs. I don't do a lot of bundling, but if I do create a bundle, I'm trying to only send a few in just in case for some reason Amazon wants to kick that back. I don't end up paying the shipping cost to get a bunch of them shipped back if I've got to ship them in. So I try to ship them in as they're selling. If I'm making 10 bundles, I might send in 3, hold 3 back, actually have 2 listings for that and sell them as merchant fulfilled as well. And when maybe 1 or 2 of those items sells, I'll go ahead and send in another 3. So it's just my way of kind of covering myself because Amazon's gotten kind of fickle about some of those things. But for the most part, if you're able to get ungated for 1 item in there, whether that's your main item or not, you can still list that bundle. Making sure that you're taking really good pictures and making sure that you're listing everything that's in there. If you're gated on 1 item, that's one of the reasons that we do bundles, because it allows us to kind of have a workaround for selling some of those items that we couldn't sell otherwise. So you can actually, talk to us offline about that if you're concerned about telling us what the bundle is. But if it's a brand restriction, if that's what you're talking about, then absolutely you can put, tons of items into a bundle. If that UPC for the item, the ASIN that you're not gated in anymore is available. I might even list that, on some other platforms or whatever, but you can certainly go ahead and sell the item as a bundle. You have to be careful though, like I said, if it shows up as a gated brand, then you'll have to be very careful about how you title it, as well as keywords that you use in the listing. Oh yeah, multi-packs. So if it's 1 ASIN in, I do that all the time. So if it's 1 ASIN inside a bundle that you're actually getting ungated in, you should be able to sell multiples of that. But if it shows up like that, the multiples that you're actually gated on the multiples, then that means that someone else has created that listing as their own and somehow gotten Amazon to restrict it. But you can certainly create your own. If you're ungated in the 1 item that you're trying to sell 3 of, then you can certainly create your own listing and sell 3 of those. Now, what I tend to do is I'll jump on a ton of listings, especially if I'm merchant fulfilling these. I'll jump on every listing that they have. So if I buy 100 of something and the best listing is selling it in 6-packs, I'll sell it in a 6-pack, I'll sell it in a 4-pack, I'll sell it in a 2-pack, I'll sell it in a 12-pack. Whatever listings are already out there, I'll jump on all those listings just so that I can make sure that I'm actually moving my product. Being very careful. Like I said, I do a lot of things that we don't necessarily teach because I do this full time and it's very important for me to have product constantly moving, but it does end up being a lot of tracking on the other end. You don't want to list, you've only got 100 items and you list all these different multi-packs. Someone ends up buying several of one multi-pack and it makes it so that you don't have 12 left of that 12-pack, or you don't have 12 left for those 2 6-packs. I don't know if that makes sense. But yes, if you're doing grocery, you're ungated in the item, and you want to sell multiple of them, you can certainly do that. You guys need to make sure that you are following us on the Academy page. We just did an ungating party on, I think it was Thursday night. But if you're finding that you're gated in a lot of the brands and categories, we're all outsourcing on a regular basis. So when we come across something that allows us to get ungated automatically, then we will post those into our spreadsheet, and Nicole shares some of those each week with the ungating party. So you can either, those are actually free with the Academy membership, or you can just buy those separately. And we do those twice a month as well as listing parties. So if you guys need some accountability in terms of listing, getting the listings up, making sure that you're spending that time listing, the Academy membership is a great way to make sure that you're getting everything that you need. I know that's my big issue. I'm constantly sourcing. I went out, like I said, a few times this week and bought a bunch of different items. And some of them, when I buy them, I'm looking at them, scanning them, and it may be in a bundle. But when you get home and you've got, 10 bags of various items, it's like, then I'm just listing them. So what I'll do is I will favorite them. You can save them as a favorite in the store. So when I come back, if I haven't actually listed it in the store, because, I don't know how many of each bundle I'm going to be able to make, and I may have some things at home and that sort of thing. So we always encourage you to actually list it from the store. I've had things sell right away. Funny thing, yesterday I listed something, and it was something I already had here, but I went and created a listing, not created it, but just jumped on a listing. And the minute, and I mean actually the minute I changed that inventory and made it live, I got a sale. And it was like, wow, I mean, I just listed that and it sold right away. So we always encourage you, if you're in the stores and you can, get the listing up or hop on the listing and get it created, to do that, because you might find something that sells right away, which means you've probably got the buy box or the lowest price, but you can right there in the store make a decision. Oh, wow, I just sold this. I just made, 300% on this, or whatever that looks like. I'm going to buy all of them, or I'm going to go to another store and find more. You can make some sourcing decisions right there if you get one of those immediate sales. So just another thought, but great way to get those up. So I did some sourcing over the week, had a bunch of things just all in bags or whatever. And when I came home, I'm looking at it all like, wow, I don't know what I was thinking when I bought all of this. Like, some of it was bundles, some of it I was thinking of creating a bundle because I had some similar characters and that sort of stuff already at home, maybe things that aren't moving as fast. And then, of course, we're preparing for Q4. So if I saw things that maybe had a higher rank that I know is going to drop, either because it's a new item or it's a more seasonal item, that sort of thing. So I got home and I listed most of the stuff, but being perfectly honest, I've still got, like, it's a small basket, but I've still got a small bin of some puzzles and things that I haven't listed because I don't know what I'm going to do with those yet. I don't know if I'm going to create a puzzle bundle or if I'm going to create a bundle with some other things and then add some of those puzzles to it. But lots of great bundling ideas out there. If you guys are, I don't know where you're sourcing from mostly. If you want to type it in the chat, I'll see if I can give you some tips. But I just noticed when I was in, what store was I in? Actually, almost all the stores that I've been in this week, but specifically when I was in Dollar Tree, because I was going from, we've got about 6 local to me, but when I was going from store to store, looking for a particular item, I noticed that every store is putting out more and more of their fall stuff. I mean, the Thanksgiving, I'm like, we're just now ending July and going into August, and you've got things up already for November. Didn't see a ton of Halloween stuff out, so it's kind of like they skipped over that and went straight to the fall products. But just a tip, if you go to your Amazon shopping app, not your seller app, go to your Amazon shopping app and type in Greenbrier. Some of those first items that come up are going to be some of your top sellers from the Dollar Tree. So you can, before you even go out, you can take a look at some of the things that are either moving or starting to move from Dollar Tree, and then as you go around to your local stores, you can look specifically for those items. A great way to get a jump on some of the scanning. We still recommend that you spend a good deal of time scanning each week, looking for, items that have a good rank that, maybe not everyone can get to because your Dollar Tree source is a little different. Actually, all of them source a little differently. But that's a great idea, just to go in and start looking around. I'm not sure if Ollie's has I know they have an Ollie's. I know I just went to Ollie's. We don't have one here, but I made a trip a couple weeks ago and went to Ollie's, and I picked up some spices, and they actually had Ollie's on the back, and there was no way for me to easily take those off. So I picked up some for my own household, but I'm not sure if they have their own private label that you could look for. But clearly, you could type in Ollie's and see what comes up. It's possible that a seller may have typed Ollie's in the title just because that's where they get it. We don't recommend you do that, because then that's kind of telling everybody where you got it from. Not everyone knows that Greenbrier is a major distributor for Dollar Tree. Same thing with Big Lots. Big Lots does some very exclusive things. I think that some of the manufacturers make items just for Big Lots, but they don't necessarily have the Big Lots name on them. I end up struggling with those sometimes because I've got to try and get those tags that are made into the cardboard out of the item. And I'm talking specifically about some of the like the Disney items, some of the character items. Usually, if you're buying general merchandise, you don't have that issue. But the same thing with Trader Joe's. You can do that if you're going out to a store for your own personal use. We don't have Trader Joe's either, but that's a great store. You can type that into your seller app. You can try that now and see what comes up, and you can actually go out to start to source for some of those items before you ever begin to scan. Yeah, you've got some great stores near you, Bertina. We have a few Ross, and I source there on occasion, but I shop there quite a bit for personal stuff. I source there on occasion, usually in like the home goods aisle and the, I don't know if I want to call it sporting goods, but they have a little bitty aisle that has a lot of knick-knacky type stuff on there. And I do a lot of grocery from Ross. But we don't have a TJ Maxx, and we don't have an Ollie's, and I don't have a Marshall, and we do have a JCPenney. And I have a really good friend that does a lot of couponing, and so I know that JCPenney does some really good coupons, and I've gone in there and sourced some, small beauty items and that sort of thing. But I'd be interested in going on a shopping trip with you, Bertina, and seeing all these great stores you're sourcing from. We have a Big Lots here, and I use them a lot, especially during the holidays. Big Lots, again, is really good for grocery. They get closeout items, so I like to think of one of my Amazon stores is kind of a closeout store. So I get a lot of sales of things that people can no longer get anywhere else. So people have their favorite items, things that they've used over and over. The only thing about Big Lots is a lot of times you can't go back and get more of the same item if it's a closeout, if it's something that's been discontinued in the stores. But if it's something that has a rank on it, what I find from the things that I source from Big Lots, a lot of times there's very few sellers on it. Most people have sold out of some of that stuff. If it has a rank on it, I'll usually grab it all, as long as the expiration dates are within a reasonable time frame. But I'll usually grab them all and list them on multiple platforms, because they do sell. Big Lots gets a lot of items that people have loved for a long time, and now they're no longer going to be able to get those in their local stores, so they come straight to Amazon to find some of their favorites. Have you guys gotten a pretty consistent sourcing schedule set up? Have you found what works best for you, sourcing in all of one store, like maybe multiple locations, or do you kind of go to a specific area and then just source all the stores in that area? just interested to know kind of what works for people. I live in a smaller place. It's a city. It's not a small town, but not a major metroplex. So I don't have a really good area where I've got like all the stores in one place. I tend to, if I'm going to Dollar Tree, I'll go to all the Dollar Trees around me. And, once I get a good couple of items, I'll just, source for all of those at all the different stores. And I kind of know, I have a semi sort of relationship with most of the store managers here, but they have quite a bit of turnover. So sometimes that can be a little hard to maintain if I don't make it out to a store during a particular manager's shift, or, they move them from store to store, that kind of thing. But we still encourage you to build those relationships. If you've got a Five Below near you, they're really good about calling when stuff comes in. Dollar Tree will too, but again, I'm finding that the store managers seem to be getting younger and younger in the stores, and so often I'll go in to talk to the manager and find that they've, replaced the one that I've been working with for a while with someone younger and fresher and probably can work, different hours. So if you've got store managers, department managers at the local Walmarts are really good if you like to shop specific departments. I know our clearance section is, inside of another department. So I see the workers in that department pretty regularly, even though they don't always know a lot about the clearance, they're back there. And so I'll say, if you get some more of these in, or if you see some of this item that I'm looking for, would you be willing to shoot me a text, or can I call and ask for you to find out? And they're usually pretty happy to oblige. The closer we get to Q4, the busier they will get. But they're usually happy to help if it means that it's something that they're not going to have to put out. They're happy to do that. I've had, managers that will offer to hold boxes for me, and that's not happening nearly as much either now. Some of them are actually, holding onto their boxes. I was in a Walmart, I don't know, it's probably been a few months ago, but I was walking through the main aisle and I saw boxes that specifically said, I don't know if it said keep this box or hold this box, reuse this box, but something to that effect. It had some words on it. And I'm thinking, man, everybody's cutting back, everybody's cutting corners, everybody's trying to save. So if you see one of the associates with the boxes that they've already broken down and they stick them all into a big basket, a lot of times I'll say, can I have a few of these? I don't tell them which I'm looking for, a specific size or anything like that. I'll just say, is it okay if I grab a few of these? And they'll usually say, sure. And I will go to town. If I see any of the poly bags in there, I'll grab those. Usually they're just ripping them open and, putting stuff out. But if it's a big bag, even if it's got a rip on it, I'll cut the top of it off and reuse that, especially for cushioning and that sort of thing. My kids hate it because I call it trash, but that's what it is. But I've got, filler in a big trash bag and a big box in our back room. But I tell them, I said, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around buying trash. And I did that a lot, when I was doing FBA a lot more, because you're sending all that stuff in and FBA wants it all nice and neat and they want to look professional. But when I am actually doing all my merchant fulfill stuff where I can use peanuts or I can use different types of cushioning or whatever, I will wrap that thing up in bubble wrap and put it in a poly bag and stick a label on it, before I put it in a box. But it's all trash. I mean, whoever opens it up, except for me, whoever opens it up, they're going to rip open the box. Typically they're going to throw it away. They're going to rip open the bag. They're going to throw it away. They're going to, snatch off the bubble wrap and they're going to throw it away. But as a supplier, we buy all of those things. So we're buying boxes and buying craft paper for filler, and we're buying bubble wrap. So any place that I can cut back on those kinds of things, I certainly do. Five Below is a good place to get boxes and filler too. Okay, so Disney asking about getting ungated. So If it's specific toys, invoice and packaging from Lego. The only suggestion I have, I can give you a few wholesale, let's see if I can get to my wholesale accounts, a few wholesale names, but you're calling it an invoice. I'm assuming that you're getting it from a wholesaler. Can you type that in the chat? If you're getting it from a distribution center or wholesaler, then you should just ask Amazon specifically what they're looking for. Looks like Nicole has joined us. So I'll let her chime in on that. But if you're going back and forth with them, I would specifically ask, and you might or might not get a straight answer, but I would specifically ask, what's the problem with the invoice I sent you? If they're looking for your name on the invoice, your business name, your business address doesn't match. It could be any number of things. But if you have an actual invoice with, I think the number does keep changing, but I think it's 10 now, with at least 10 of a certain item, and it's got your business information on it, and it's within the last 90 days. There are, like I said, quite a few stipulations. They should be accepting those. And if it's different items, like if they're all Disney, but let's say one of them is, I don't know, Jake and Neverland Pirates or something, and then, 6 of them are Minnie Mouse and 2 of them are Mickey Mouse, it may be that they want a specific quantity of one item that you're trying to sell. So when you say you're trying to get ungated, if it's a specific brand within Disney, then you need to focus on buying that specific brand and the minimum quantity of that. Yes, I did. So is the yes you did that you asked them?
Oh, no invoice sent. Okay. So, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't read that all the way through. So you're asking about Lego now. So yes, you want to make sure that you're getting the specified quantity from an accepted distributor for Lego. We'll have to get you some names for that one. And I'm trying to think. It's kind of weird with Lego because I know that I've been selling Lego for some time, but when I go in the store and scan some of the newer sets, they'll still come up as restricted. So I don't know what that means. I'm not restricted in the brand, I don't think. I must be restricted. I don't know if it's certain sets. Again, Amazon changes the rules as they go. So,
with Lego,
I've been selling a very long time. So things might be a little different now than they have been.
Can you hear me at all? I don't know. Can anybody hear me? Can anybody
about what it needs? And you might try submitting the same invoice at a different time. Sometimes you'll get a different person on the phone. And if all else fails, then absolutely open up a case and let them walk you through it.
Can you hear me at all? Yes, I can hear you. Okay, good. I don't think Renata can hear me. So I'm here. So let me just tell
no problem. I'm going to actually switch this over to Nicole and let her take it from here. I don't know how long it was ago that you joined us. I looked up there and saw that you were with us, Nicole, but I'm not sure.
You can't hear me, so something's going on with her sound. She can't hear me at all.
If how long ago it was. So I didn't want to take up any of your precious time. But our fearless leader is here, and I'm sure she's got some great information for us. So, Nicole, I see you.
All right. Well, thank you. And I don't know that you can hear me at all, but I love you with all my heart and soul. Thank you so much. So I apologize profusely for this morning. I sincerely apologize. So let me go ahead and get ready to show my screen. So regarding Lego, whoever that was asking the question about Lego, let me just show this real quick. Like I said, she can't hear us, so I don't think she can hear me.
Now I can. I'm so sorry. I was probably talking over you. I had my phone. I mean, I had my computer. Actually, I had the sound turned off because I leave it up at night, and anybody that's got Facebook, like the notifications go off all the time. So before I go to bed, I just mute it, and I just looked when I saw I can hear you, and I was like, I didn't ask if you could hear me. So, yeah, sorry about that. I've got it unmuted now.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. We had a car fiasco this morning, everybody, and it affected my life and my entire house's life. So I apologize for that. So the answer to a supplier to get approved for Lego is Saphir. I'm not going to say it right, so let me just pull up the website. It's www.she. I'm not even going to spell it right, am I? Here, I think I'm close. Nope. Hold on. I'm spelling challenged. Just a second. It is. Let me just copy it because clearly I'm not going to type it right. So I'll show my screen in just a second. The computer's like, I don't know what you're trying to spell here. Okay. All right. So let me show my screen. As soon as it does show. So this company is SHEPHER. This is a company you can use to get approved for Lego. And what could be happening with the Lego situation is that, and you can also use Entertainment Earth, but what could be happening with the Lego situation is, Lego will do certain ones for specialty stuff. So they might have Lego for Marvel, and then they got Lego for Toy Story, and then they got Lego, Lego for some Disney other thing, and then they got Lego for some other movie. And so if it is specific to like something else, it's not Lego in general, like, oh, I'm just giving you a police car, versus this is a police car for Batman, okay? Those are sort of indirectly, as far as Amazon's concerned, sometimes two different things. So you may have to get approved for a specific brand niche within Lego, meaning the sub-brand of whatever that happens to be. So I don't know what you're selling for Lego. I don't know if it's, what it is that you're selling for Lego, but that may be part of the reason why when you scan some Legos, you're approved for some and not for others, because that one might be specific to a specialty something within Lego. So great examples are always the Marvel, always DC Comics, always, anything that's in the Disney brand. So they might have Lego for Frozen, and then Lego for Toy Story, and Lego for whatever, Lego for Minions. So it could go down the rabbit hole with Lego because they like to break out stuff for different movies and characters and cartoons. So that may be what the issue is that there's a sub brand within the brand that you have to get approved for. So I hope that answers your question, but the name of the company is Saphir. I'm not going to say it right. I am not. So I want to say thank you profusely to Renata for at least filling in for me. I sincerely apologize. It was not my intention to be late. I've actually been up since 7:30. We just, stuff happens in people's lives, and it's just always very interesting and always very challenging. So I thank her for coming in and stepping in the gap. She is my ride or die. So I thank you. Let's get this party started. So today we are covering, in our lovely 90-day challenge, we are covering session 7. And within session 7, we're going to be talking about outsourcing. But before we get to that, let's talk about where we are in this journey. So we've gone through, this is the 12-week journey, of which there's 8 sessions. We are on 7, which next, the 15th, is the last session. So here's the deal. If you are just now starting the journey, that's fine. If you're at the beginning of this journey, that is fine. But if you've been following us along and you feel like I need to reset, then reset. Because things happen, as today is a perfect example. And so sometimes you have to start over again. So your 12 weeks can start wherever you are. But the goal is to build the consistency. And right now is the most vital time to build the consistency because you're going into Q4. So wherever you are in the process, if you are just now joining session 7 for the first time, great. Welcome. We're glad you're here. But if you have been following us along, you've fallen off the wagon, you've not been consistent, blah, 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 just reset and start with session 1 and begin moving forward from there. Everything that you need to hit your numbers is in session 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Everything that you need. The others are additional strategies and techniques But the beginning sessions 1 through 5 are going to give you everything you need to help you to get to your goal numbers. And everything on after that is all extra. So what we're going to talk about today is outsourcing. And of course, that's extra. You may not be at a place where outsourcing makes sense, but you can always come back to this session and rewatch it at a later time. So the goal is to get you guys to a place where you're consistent in your business, because you're going into Q4. And if you haven't built the habits in Q3, then you're going to be trying to ramp up your business in Q4. And that's not what we want you to do. We want you to ramp up your business now, build the habits that are necessary to have consistency in your life and consistent results in your business, and then use that to catapult you into Q4. On top of that, you know, Amazon always has those matrix. So you've got matrix numbers that you got to meet or exceed in order to even be able to do merchant fulfilled on Amazon. So again, this is the time to, you know, buckle up and get serious and get focused and really give your business everything you got on a regular basis. So if you haven't built your real work schedule, we covered that in session 1. Go back, watch session 1, and get some level of consistency today going forward. Today is perfect because it's August the 1st. I mean, it's the first day of the month. So hello, August. We are here with you, depending on what the rest of 2020 looks like. I don't know. Aliens might show up. The murder hornets may come back. Cicadas may come from out of the ground. Who knows what's going to happen? But the point is, we are here on August the 1st. What better time to start something new? Give yourself an unofficial 31-day challenge. August 1st. Start now. So in order to get to the numbers that we talked about as far as this 90-day challenge is concerned, is in order to get to the 2,000, you got to have a daily profit of $22.23. You know, 4,000 or 6,000. What is your number? And can you get to those numbers on a consistent basis? Absolutely, especially right now with everybody buying online. And even if Amazon is not your primary source for everything, all of the strategies and techniques that we cover in this workshop are strategies and techniques you can use on eBay. You can use them on Mercari, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, Bonanza. You can use it, you can diversify. We covered diversification, I believe, in session 6. So, yes. All right. So I need to get my son to turn off his lovely music. Nicholas, I need you to turn that off. Mommy's teaching. Okay. So the last session we covered diversification, but we also covered bundles. So bundles was really a great session. It was about 2 hours long. It was chock full of great information. So did you create any bundles from the last session? Did you sell any bundles? Did you create any multi-packs? Did you start sourcing for any bundles? And if you did, where did you source? How many listings did you create? And have you been tracking your numbers? So in session 2 or 3, we actually gave you a tracking sheet that carry you through every single week so that you can have a realistic view of whether or not you're actually building or developing the habits that are necessary to be that successful seller that you want to be. So you need to go back and do that worksheet, because it's not really a worksheet, it's a form. And it just says, okay, how many listings did you put up this week? How many hours did you say you were going to list? Did you actually list for those hours? How many listings did you say you were going to put up? Did you actually put up that many listings? You know, how much money did you budget for this week to spend? Did you actually spend that money? So really giving yourself some level of accountability on whether or not you actually, you know, fulfilled what your goal or your objective was. And did you follow your schedule, as always? So now let's get into the meat of VAs. And I don't know if we missed anybody earlier today or not. So I'm thankful for everyone that's here, and I hope this information is a blessing to you. Even if you're not at a place where you're ready to use a VA, take this information and put it in your side pocket and pull it out later, pull the trigger on it later. I will say, because we are in Q3, if you have the ability to get a VA, this is the best time to do it. Because then your VA, you will have all of August and September to train your VA. So you're going into Q4 with a second you, a mini me. That's the whole point of a VA, is to develop a mini me, a person that can multiply your productivity. So what is a VA? A VA is a virtual assistant, somebody that can help you in your business, help you do different activities, help you be more productive in your business. Why would you get one? Again, a mini me, to multiply yourself. So if you're working 5 hours a week in your business, 10 hours a week, 30 hours a week in your business, just imagine if you hire somebody and they could also do 30 hours a week worth of work. 60 hours worth of work, that means more profits. So if 30 hours worth of work yielded you $2,000 a week, 60 hours will clearly get you closer to the 4,000 you're trying to get at. And actually, it should exceed it because of the theory and the law of compounding. Because compounding is crazy. If you've never the compound effect, I think there's a book that's written by, I forget his name, he's part of the Success Group. The compound effect is real. So hiring somebody is not necessarily going to double you. It may actually triple you, because then they can take care of all the low-hanging fruit stuff. And low-hanging fruit is stuff that's just monotonous, mundane, it's tedious, it's repetitive. They can take care of that stuff so that you can invest your time and energy in the things that will yield you higher profits, yield you more sales, which by default, instead of just doubling you, it will actually sometimes triple you. So that's where you want to get. You want to triple your numbers or quadruple your numbers, and bringing a VA on board can help you do that. And I've been blessed to have some amazing people that I've worked with as VAs to do work for me. And we're going to talk about what kind of work they could do. Now, there are some risks, and when you hire a VA, I mean, you have to be prepared to embrace those risks. It doesn't happen all the time, but it can. So one of them is access and exposure. Like, you're going to grant the VA some level of access to your information and or your business. It may not be full access to everything. It may be limited access, or maybe you grant them access to data that has like what types of items or products that you're selling. And, you know, that could become frustrating for you if that person is not scrupulous. So again, finding the right VA is important. The stories about bad VAs are out there, but there's always a boatload of stories of great VAs. And so don't let that stop you. Time and timeliness. So sometimes your VA and timeline, sorry. So time, you have to invest time of your time in order to get the VA up to speed. So if you're working 30 hours a week in your business, you may only get to work 20 or 15 hours a week while you're trying to train this VA if all you have is a total of 30 hours to give to the business. If you can find an extra pocket of an additional 5 hours or whatever in the week, that's going to help you a little bit, but you're going to step backwards to move forward. And that is the thing you have to embrace when you are trying to bring a VA on board. Sometimes you're going to step backwards a little bit in your business to slingshot yourself forwards. So just be prepared for that. And then the timelines, like bringing somebody on board is going to take time. So like I said, August, this is the perfect time to bring a VA on board. You have all of August and all of September to get them up to speed. And then just imagine when you're settled in October and both of you are running side by side with each other in the business, how many more sales you could have, how much more productive you could be, how much more money you could be making. The other risk is you got to build a budget, or you got to have money to do it. If you don't have money, that's pulling money out of your business. And most of the time, like, we teach the strategy that you need to reinvest 100% of your profits for the first 90 days, which is the whole 12 weeks that we're talking about here. So you would have to pull some of your money out of your profits to bring a VA in, which again means you're going to have a little bit less to reinvest, but again, it will come back to you. So as long as you and your VA are both productive and consistent. Expectations, I mean, when you have a VA, you're going to be a little frustrated at the beginning. Maybe you thought you found the right person, they're not, then you have to hire another VA. So sometimes the expectations of what you want the VA to do and what they're capable of doing are two different things. So the example I have below is thinkers versus doers versus specialists. So doers are people that can do a simple task. They don't require a lot of thinking. They don't have to, it's like a person that you need to file some medical records. Like, okay, so I'm going to put all the A files in the A folder and all the B files in the B section, all the C files, like everyone's with their last names. And so I don't have to think through a bunch of stuff. I don't have to make a bunch of decisions. You gave me a stack of files. All I have to do is just file them. Then you have your thinkers. These are people that now I've given you a stack of files. In addition to filing them, I need you to do some other critical thinking stuff. I need you to analyze which ones maybe have past due accounts and which ones don't. So we can put those in a separate folder. Like, you have to go through and do some level of additional analysis and work with thinkers, okay? And so thinkers may take a little bit more time because it's going to be a trial and error with them. And with this whole process, again, all of this is risk. When you find the right VA, you are excited and in heaven forever. When you don't find the right VA and you have to keep tweaking, you know, what tasks you give them or what procedures you give them or whatever, then it becomes a little bit of a frustration until you get that person moving forward. So again, finding the right VA is important. And then sometimes people think that they bring a VA on board and I'm going to give you doer work, I'm going to give you thinker work, and I'm going to make you a specialist. Well, okay, that person may not be equipped to be able to do all three. They may not have the mental capacity to do it. They may not have the analytical skills to be able to do all three. They may not have the motivation and passion to do all three. So if you're trying to give a VA work to do your paid Facebook, Google, and YouTube ads, and you also want them to work on a spreadsheet for you, and you also want them to compile some data and some numbers and do some analysis on what products you should be selling, that's a lot to ask your VA. Some VAs may be capable of doing that, but I can tell you the vast majority are not. 75% of them are going to be, this is what you hired me to do. And as I develop my skills over time and I'm prepared to take on more work, then maybe I graduate from being a doer to a thinker. And then as I develop those skills and I am more comfortable with my job, then I graduate to being a specialist. It's just like a regular job. Like maybe you started off in the mailroom and then you moved up to be an admin to somebody. Then from there you moved up to be a coordinator or an analyst. And then up there you moved up to be a manager. It's a gradual progression. You don't just start off in the mailroom and then become a manager next week. That's not how this works. So it's the same thing with the VA. And you have to remember that when you're working with your VA or when you're researching to find a VA. So some of the mistakes that people make when it comes to outsourcing a VA, I don't know what happened with my slide. Somehow my slide has unedited it. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but okay. All right. Hold on. I'm going to edit this only because we're here. Like this was not the slide I was expecting to start with. Okay. So the mistakes that sometimes people make when it comes to hiring a VA is not knowing what they want to outsource. So you hire a VA, but you don't know what you want them to do. You have no idea what is the thing that you want them to do. You have no idea how long something takes because you didn't do it. So I will tell you, I've been part of No Excuse. I was part of No Excuses. And one of the things that the No Excuses team that was part of e-commerce, what they offered was a white glove service. You know, I thought the white glove service, that means somebody, it's 100% off of your e-commerce business, meaning you're 100% hands off. Somebody else is doing everything for you. They're doing all the sourcing, they're doing all the shipments into Amazon, they're doing all the checking in of your inventory, blah, blah, blah. I will never, ever, 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 ever recommend to anybody to outsource 100% of their business if you don't know what your business is doing. So if you don't know what it takes to create a shipment, don't outsource that. If you don't know what it takes to be able to, create a listing, don't outsource that. You have to have some kind of baseline so that if a person says it took me 3 hours to create a listing and you know that a listing can be created in 30 minutes or 10 minutes if you're really good at it, then you can call BS on the person that said it took me 3 hours to create this listing. If you don't know how things work in your business, never outsource something that you haven't done yourself first. So knowing what it is you want to outsource, the best thing to do is just to write down everything that you do in your business. Once you outsource it, you want to sort it. And then once you source it, then you try to figure out, okay, what are the things that I could really outsource to a VA? And what are the things that I really need to keep to myself? Or maybe I need different levels of skill sets. Maybe I need a doer, thinker, and I need a specialist. So you need to figure that out. But the only way that you can do that is you have to write down what you do in your business. What is everything that you do? And then you can create a separate list of what is I want to do in the future. But you don't start off with the future first because you haven't done it yet. The next one is that you're unorganized in the interview process. So again, when you're getting ready to hire a VA, you need to make sure that you have some baseline questions that you want to ask, or maybe you have some sort of test or semi-task that you can say, okay, I need you to go and find products that I can sell on Amazon in the baby niche. And maybe it's newborn baby versus 3 to 6 months. So newborn baby niche, and maybe I'm sourcing, here's your sourcing from Walmart, sourcing from, 3 or 4 other stores. And you give them a finite list of what you want them to do so that you can at least be able to test them. But you got to have a list of questions. What is it that you want to know? Is it important to you that they be able to speak English? Is it important to you that they're in the US, or does it matter to you? What are their hours that they're available, or when do you need them available? So don't get frustrated if you hire a VA in the Philippines or Malaysia and that VA says, I'm only available during Malaysia hours. That means you got to be up in the middle of the night. Maybe when you first start off, if that person's ideal and they're worth it, they got good ratings, maybe you do that. Or maybe you say, nope, we're gonna have to do a 50-50 split here. I'll be available some of your hours, you be available some of my hours. So you have to figure that out. And you also need to know what skills you want that person to have. Hiring cheap and expecting everything, we already talked about that. You cannot hire someone at a doer rate and expect them to do specialist work. It's just not gonna happen. It's just not. It is not going to happen. It is a gradual progression, just like any other job. And then not establishing expectations. So if you're saying that you're hiring a person, you're expecting them to work 20 hours a week and you haven't communicated that to them, that's going to be a problem. Make sure that you have established a process in which you do touch bases. So I run multiple teams. And so I do a weekly touch base with each one of my teams for 30 minutes at a minimum. So I know, I am touching base with those teams to find out where they are in their process, and I lay out what the expectation is for the coming week. Or maybe it's a project that we have coming up in the future. That is going to help you. And then what is your process to be able to handle emergencies with your VA? So again, not establishing expectations. So today I had an emergency. Renata stepped in and filled in the gap. Thank you very much, Renata. But again, having a process to handle emergencies. What if they have an emergency? If they're in another country and the internet is not stable, what is your plan? How often does the internet go down in the Philippines or Malaysia? If you're hiring from there, if you're hiring from Pakistan, India, you're hiring from some other country, or if they're in the US, like, do they have stable internet? What's the backup plan if the computer goes down? Like, what's your plan? What's your strategy? What's your approach? And what are you willing to donate, give, sacrifice, whatever? Maybe you have to buy an electronic device for this person if you have established a long-term relationship with them. So next is not diversifying the tasks in your business. So, what if you trained one VA to do everything and then they quit? So are you ready for that? Like, they were doing everything. It may be best to start breaking out some tasks. Maybe you start off with one VA and you eventually get to 2 VAs. So you want to initially spoon feed that VA to give them certain tasks until you feel comfortable and confident that they can handle it. And then you add more to their plate. And then you gradually just test to make sure that works out. And then you increase those responsibilities again. At some point, you have to make sure that you have a backup plan. If you don't have a backup plan, then you are SOL. And if something happens to that VA, or if they decide to quit, you're gonna have problems. So make sure that you have a game plan for, okay, after 6 months or after 3 months, my goal is to double the work and get to a place where we have to double the profits or increase the profits by 50%. And then once I'm at 50%, hire a backup VA to take on more work. So you get to a place where maybe you have a pool of 4 people or 3 people that you work with. And it's not just a single one VA doing all that work. Because again, if something happens to that VA, what's your plan? What's your strategy? Not setting up your VA correctly, so not giving them access to the tools that they need, not even writing out what they need. Like, if you took the opportunity to sit down and say, okay, these are all the things I do in a day, and then of these things that I do on a day, you create 2 columns, things I can outsource to a VA, things I need to keep to myself, things I can outsource to a VA, things I can keep to myself. Once you create that separation list, go through the list of what you can outsource to a VA and make sure you're comfortable with giving them access to whatever tool they need to be able to do that. So if that means you give them access to your back office, or you make them an admin, or you make them whatever it is, are you comfortable with doing that? Or do they use another tool that sits on top of your Amazon account or your eBay or Shopify or WooCommerce, and they use that tool and they don't have direct access to your account? So these are things you have to think about. You have to make sure you write down what they need access to. If they need access to spreadsheets, they need access to Google Drive, they're in another country. Is that going to create a problem? If they're accessing your account from a remote country, is that going to create a problem? Maybe you have to set up a VPN so that they log into a VPN to even access your account. Because I ran into a situation where one of my VAs, he's in Pakistan, that I had some software and they actually shut down my account because they said, we don't support anybody in Pakistan. And I had to send them a very impassionate message to say, look, this is a global economy. I'm not really sure I understand why you have a problem with the fact that my VA, my company is 100% in the US, but I have virtual assistants all over the world. So I need you to reactivate my account right now. So once they understood there was a US based company, but that the person that was doing the work was in another country, then again, that addressed that issue from a security and compliance standpoint. So be prepared to deal with some of that crazy stuff, because that was the first. I had to deal with that for the first time, like about 3 months ago. Not allowing enough time to get the work done. Again, if you don't know, and also get the VA going. So if you're expecting the VA to hit the ground running in 2 weeks, that may not be realistic. When I said we got all of August and September to get them ready for Q4, I feel like 2 months is enough time, or even a month of focused. We're going to touch base every single day at the end of the day, or we're going to touch base, twice a day or maybe 3 times a week. And we're going to have like a 15-minute touch base, a standing meeting where we just check in, see where you are, how much you got done. Is this realistic? Is it not? Are you getting faster? Are you slow still? And then figuring out how you can improve the process. In addition to that, not listening to feedback or ideas. So your VA, after a period of time, will be doing the same task over and over again. They may have a better way or an idea about a better way of doing it. The one thing about working in our own businesses and being active in our businesses is sometimes we become our own handicap. Sometimes we hinder ourselves. Sometimes we slow ourselves down because we can't see another way in which to do the business. We only see one way to do it, and there's no other way to do this business. And so when we get to that situation where we're just blindsided, like we have blinders on, sometimes we can't see a more efficient way to do something. But because this is all that person does all day long, when you're running your business, you're not just doing this one thing. You're doing this one thing, and you got 9 other plates in the air. You're the customer service. You're the handling the returns. You're sourcing. You're dealing with wholesale accounts. You're doing all this work. And so your ability to see there might be a better way to do something is limited. So again, once you have an established relationship with the VA, if they have suggestions, listen. Sometimes they may actually save you time and make you more money. So think about that. And then share your vision with them. Allow them to grow with your business. They're on this journey with you. So when you have a win, they celebrate with you. When there's a setback, be honest with them. This is where we are. This is what happened. All my inventory stranded on the Staten Island. I can't get to it. They won't let it off the docks, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it happens to be. Just be honest with them. You'd be surprised how many of your VAs will stick it out with you if you have really good VAs. And I have so been blessed. So keep all these things in mind when you're hiring a VA. Put processes in place so that you can have regular touch bases with the VA and make sure that they fully understand what it is that you need them to do. So how do we get started with VA? First thing you need to do is you need to document your business process. Whatever it is that you're doing, it'll be something as simple as doing research for products, product niches. So document what you do. What are the action steps you do? You can use Zoom, you can use Loom, you can use other, Screencast and whatever, Screenomatic, whatever those other ones are. There's a bunch of tools out there to record what you're doing on your screen. So take that opportunity to record and document what you're doing, your business process, and how you do it. I would recommend bite-sized videos, 3 to 5 minutes or 7, just under 10 minutes, but document it. If you have a complex research process that has yielded you high returns for your products, well, by all means, what if there was double you? That means if there was 2 of you, then now somebody else can do the exact same process, as intricate as it is that you do, and help you get double the profits. So why not record that and keep that video available to say, this is how I do product research. And if you have 3 different methods, then create 3 different videos, but make sure you don't, again, in some countries or some VAs, English is not their first language. So make sure that you put it in bite-sized pieces and you teach it from a 3rd grade level, so that way that person will not feel overwhelmed and they can actually process specifically what you're talking about. When you start mixing topics in the middle of it and you're not focused on that one topic, that happens all the time. I have to, every time I'm working with somebody on coaching, every time I'm working with somebody on projects, I'm like, okay, I'll make a note of what you just said, but this is what we're talking about right now. This one thing right here is what we're talking about. So when you're creating these videos, make sure you stay on topic the entire time. Don't switch topics. Even if they could blend in together, if the one thing that you're teaching is this one technique, only teach that one technique in the video, start another video. This is my second technique, and then go into the specifics about the second technique. The other thing is research VA companies and then apply or set up your account. So there's so many of them out there. I just listed a few. You can just do a Google search for VA companies. And there's a difference in VA companies. There's VA companies where you can actually hire them. One of the companies that we use is Emphasize, where they actually have a pool of VAs and we just give them a list of tasks that we want them to do. And so we pay for a certain number of tasks or units every single month. And so that is a VA pool, and you pay them and you can get a random VA to do work for you. That's one. Then you have where you actually hire a dedicated VA. So where you might find a dedicated VA might be on Upwork or Fiverr or Freelancer or onlinejobs.ph or Replace Yourself. Some of those are, you're getting a specific dedicated VA. Now they may have access to cousins, aunts, sisters, whatever, brothers that can actually do VA work. So when you're ready to scale, you may have a whole family doing work for you in some of these countries. And it's amazing what you can get a VA for in some of these countries because their cost of living is completely different than the US, completely different. So do take advantage of that. Don't overlook that opportunity because English is not their first language. Doesn't mean that they are not capable. Some of the most well-educated people have like PhDs in these other countries, but because English is not their first language, people just poo-poo them and think, oh, okay, well, this person is not smart enough. Oh my gosh, like that's wrong. Don't prejudge them. Don't. Think if you had a degree and you went to go live in another country, like Malaysia, or you went to go live in Africa, they would be like, well, because English is, because Africa is, whatever the language is, whether it's Nigerian or whatever, is not your first language, so we just don't think you're smart enough. Okay, all right, don't do that. And then test or do a trial with your VA. Give them a simple task to complete. So one of the things that we did was we created a list. I'm trying to remember everything we did. We gave them some documents. Actually, we gave them some documents to review, and we asked them to rewrite the documents. And so, in other words, you could use a blog scrambling tool that will rewrite an entire document for you, or you can ask them to rewrite it themselves. But we asked them to rewrite some documents and then give us the results. And then once you review the results, find one that you like. And if there's two people, then put those two aside and say, okay. And maybe it becomes a situation where you're hiring a VA and you're going to pay $400 a month or $600 a month for a full-time VA working 40 hours a week, every single week for a month. Believe it or not, yes, you can get people for $400. You can also get people for $600. You can get them for $800. A full-time 40-hour a week VA. The key again is the English may not be their first language. So if you haven't documented any processes, you got to be prepared for that. But if you hire one and maybe you have two people and you're having a hard time deciding which one of the two you want to get, hire both of them and tell them you're going to start them off at 20 hours instead of 40 hours. And then that way you can test drive both of them. And if one of them at the end shakes out to be better than the other, then maybe you can have that other person do something else, or maybe between the two of them, you get enough in profits you can keep both, or you can let one of them go. And then in the beginning, you want to monitor what they're doing on a daily and weekly basis. Have a touch base. It could be a 5-minute touch base that you do with them at the beginning of their day or the end of their day, and make it every single day as they go through the process. And what you'll find over time is there may be things in your standard operating procedures that now you get to add to them because they found holes in your documentation or in your process. You're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know what to do here. So what was I supposed to do? I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't put that in the notes, or that wasn't in the video. I'm going to record another video to cover that. And what that will do for you, long-term, bigger picture, is now you have standard operating procedures for everything. So that if that VA quits, has a baby, something happens, there's an earthquake, whatever, you literally can take your standard operating procedures and start with a new VA, and they don't start from nothing. That doesn't mean you're not going to have to do all the touch bases, but you've documented all your processes and you found your holes. So you've plugged those holes in. And that's again, one of the things you want to do. And then over time, you can release them to just do the work where you just check in with them every week, or you check in with them every 2 weeks. You know, you go into a folder if they're doing sourcing research for you. If their job is to put something in that file every single day, you check the file every single day. It's like, okay, they're putting stuff in there. I don't need to bother them anymore. This data looks good. You know, after X number of weeks, you say, okay, I'll check in with you, you know, every 2 weeks instead of every day or every week. All right. And let them do a task for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then maybe add another task. So if they've gotten really good at one task for a month, then give them an additional task and let them focus on that new task for a month. Then if they've got something that's more complex, give them 3 months instead of 1 month. If it's more complex, if it's a thinker job, then, you know, give them a little more time. And then they can begin the process of working with you on projects and say, okay, once you've learned this, one of the things I would love for you to do is I would love for you to, you know, help me hire other VAs and you train my other VAs. And I would love for you to take on this other task. Maybe you start giving them project management work. Because again, after 9 months, they've progressed and they are now like an extension of your business. So I'll give you an example of that. Is PreUp is a company that actually is still running, but it was sold by Nathan Hirsch for multiple millions of dollars. And he actually is an Amazon seller. He was an Amazon seller. And they hired over time, they had over 35 VAs, 35 full-time VAs. And they used those 35 VAs, they outsourced them to other Amazon sellers, and they also used those VAs to run their own business. And of course, there was promotions in those VAs moving up and down. And so you could get to a place where you make millions and millions of dollars and you go sit on a beach in Tahiti because of the fact that you gradually developed your VAs and then got to a place where you could retire yourself. Another person who does this very well is Joy Packard. If you haven't looked up Joy, I'm always envious, even though I shouldn't be, of Joy because she literally, outside of this pandemic, she literally lives her life going from island to island. Like she goes on vacation to vacation. And that's because over time, she hired VAs to run her business. So she didn't have to do a lot of the work. And she became a trainer on teaching people how to find VAs. So I'm just saying, over time, this could yield you a lot of money. And I just want you to imagine what your business could look like on the other side of this pandemic if you began the process of gradually incorporating VAs into your business. How much more smoothly things can run, how many more vacations you could take, how much more free time you could begin to do the things that you are passionate about. So I think a VA is worth it. So what are some of the things you could have a VA do? Product research, creating listings, search for private label ideas and products. They could help you with your graphics for your t-shirts. They could actually create the t-shirts, put them up on your site, whatever site it is. They could do your customer service. They could help create your website or your Shopify store. They could fulfill orders for you. They could do your eBay and Walmart and Amazon listings. They could handle all your emails. They could email out to your customers. They could go do research on cashbacks, coupons, clearance, whatever. They can show you all the deals. So there's so much more. This is just not all of it, but a VA is capable of helping you maximize your profits, maximize your productivity, and help you to make a bunch of money. All right. So now that we kind of covered VAs, we're going to talk about prep centers. So before I get into prep centers, are there any questions about VAs? Discussion on VAs, thoughts about VAs, and I'll come back at the end and we can talk about it again. All right, so the next thing is outsourcing to a prep center. So if you are a person like me, you have a house full of junk. It's not junk, it's inventory, but it's a lot. You got a storage unit that's full of inventory. You got inventory everywhere because, Amazon is all over the scoreboard. I will say this before we get too deep into this conversation. If you are going to do fourth quarter, if you're going to sell on Amazon for fourth quarter, I highly recommend you establish an account with a prep center now. Because as you already know, Amazon is making adjustments to IPI and the number of items you can send in. They are taking a little bit longer to check in inventory because, again, they are always having to adjust and pivot with COVID-19 cases and the guidelines with the CDC. And they will get better and it will get smoother, but right now it's a little clunky with Amazon. And so having a prep center, comparing a prep center to an Amazon fulfillment center, an Amazon fulfillment center might have anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 employees. Whereas an independent, small family-owned prep center or smaller prep center might have anywhere from 25 to 100 employees. It is easier to make adjustments to your business operations when it's 25 to 100 employees than it is when there's 1,000 to 3,000 employees. It just is. You can move faster, you can pivot easier, and you can be way more flexible. So they can get your inventory, they can check your items in. Sorry, not checking it. They can receive your items and then send the items when customers buy them. They can send them directly to the customer for you. So you remove Amazon from the equation, the Amazon FBA from the equation, because they take a little bit longer to check things in. And they got a lot going on and they're changing what you can and cannot sell all the time. And they're indicating how much you can send in. So if you remove them from the equation and say, you know what, I'm going to be merchant fulfilled and I'm going to be 100% merchant fulfilled for Q4. People still buy from Amazon and they still buy merchant fulfilled all day long. Will you get the Prime box? Well, if your metrics are good, there is a such thing as seller fulfilled or merchant fulfilled Prime, which means you could do merchant fulfilled and get the little Prime box if your metrics are good. So again, when people are looking for things to buy where they know they can get it very quickly, having consistency in your business over time, you may get invited to do Amazon seller fulfilled or merchant fulfilled Prime. And if you get that opportunity, snap it up. The only way you can do that is if you find a prep center that actually is really good at what they do about getting purchases out to customers very quickly, products out to customers very quickly. So I think a fulfillment center is where it's at. Going with Amazon FBA, you can still do that, or you can go outside of Amazon and just go with another prep center or fulfillment center. So a fulfillment center is a third-party logistics warehouse where incoming orders are received, processed, and filled. It's basically another version of Amazon FBA. That's really all it is. They will receive your items in, so you ship your items to them instead of sending it to Amazon. They will connect to your Amazon account. They have an API. That's an application something interface. I forget what the P is. And I forget what the P is. So they have an API connection to your Amazon account, to your eBay account, to your Walmart account. And they have other APIs that you could, you have to check with them to see. They may have one with Etsy. They may have one with Mercari or Poshmark. So these are all great things. This doesn't change, like if you have a wholesale distributor, if they're going to ship it directly to the customer for you, like you've already got an interface going with them, you keep that. But if you're going to send inventory into a prep center, so it's hands off, you don't have all the stuff in your house, you don't have stuff in your garage, let them send it to the customer for you. That's all it is they're going to send it to the customer. They'll handle it for you. And so they handle all the tedious stuff. So let their warehouse be junky and not your house. So what can they do for you? They can do a bunch. They can check in damaged goods. They can bundle products. They can label products. They can do all the bagging, bubble wrapping. They can box the shipments. They can do unpacking. If you are going from a wholesale supplier and sending it directly to your prep center and letting them send it to the customer for you, they can do all that. Okay. Oops, my mouse is going the opposite direction. Me and my mouse. There we go. So in addition to that, they give you the ability to scale your business in the future. So again, if you are right now processing 100 orders a day, I just want you to think about that for just a second. You're doing great on Amazon, but you are hustling hard every single day. Every day, you are hustling hard, trying to get shipments out the door, trying to meet the postman or trying to run off to some FedEx or UPS or whatever and drop off boxes and all that other stuff. What would happen if you didn't have to do that anymore? Just imagine that. If you spend 8 to 10 hours of your day doing that all day, and then you get to spend like 2 or 3 hours sourcing. Like, what would happen if 8 to 10 hours of your day, 8 hours of your day went somewhere else? What would life look like? How much more work could you get done? Or what could you outsource to a VA to do product research for you? So then you've outsourced to a prep center, you outsourced to a VA. Now you can really focus on the things that are going to generate the most income. Now you can analyze your numbers more closely. Now you can make bigger and better decisions in your business. Just think about that for just a second. And outsourcing to a prep center is almost equivalent to doing Amazon FBA from a fulfillment cost standpoint. Just want you to know that. So in addition to that, they can, the benefits of the fulfillment center, they have the ability to warehouse your stuff. So the long-term storage fees that you're paying for Amazon, you're not going to pay the same cost that you're going to pay with a prep center or a fulfillment center. They give you personal attention to your products. They can actually put stuff in the box, a little thank you notes to the customers when you send it off. What's that going to do for you? If you're trying to drive traffic to your own personal warehouse, even though there's a terms of service with Amazon, you can put a little thank you thing, and at the bottom of your little thank you thing, you can actually just put your URL in tiny print. There's nothing wrong with that. They can help you with, so that's advertising and kitting. They can reduce your storage fees. They can do custom stuff, and they have the expertise. You want to find a prep center that's actually been doing this for a while. Don't go with one that's only been in business for a year or 2 years. Go with somebody that's been doing it for a while. So other business benefits is that no shipping plans needed. So with Amazon, you got to go through the shipment process, and then you got to say what's going in here and what's going in this box, and you got to send all this stuff on. Like, they will take care of all. They'll send the stuff to your customer because they have an API integration with whatever platform you're selling on. There's no need to send them labels. You could if you want to, but they can handle that because they can go directly into your back office and get that shipment, print off those labels for you. They can make sending your product information easier and faster. They can do different things with the packaging. So there's no need to fill your garage with products, that's me, or pay for a warehouse. I have a storage unit. It's just crazy. I think it's like a 10 by 20, 10 by 30. It's not small. It's cheaper than hiring employees. So I will tell you one of my strategies that I did 2015 and 16 is every Q4 I would hire people to come and work. Now I would make sure I had the money for them. So I would hire them to work for 6 to 8 weeks in my business. So they would work all the way October, the second week in October until the second week in December. So that was the window that I would bring them on board. And they would work in my business at my house. We would have an assembly line. We would do shipments and all that stuff and labels. And so that money that I spent when I would hire a couple of people, and I would set aside X number of dollars, and they would work like 10 hours a week. So I'd bring in like 2 or 3 people, 10 hours a week, whatever. That money, I could have sent all of that stuff to a prep center. They could have did all that work, and I could have just not had all this stuff in the house. That's not saying that you don't have some pre-work that you have to do to set up this relationship with the prep center. But again, think about all the time you get back. You get back so much time. Then you can focus on other things, which means you can make bigger purchases and you can double yourself by hiring a VA to do other product research for you. So it allows you to focus on sourcing, and there's, no back and forth. So once you're outsourced to a prep center, the only thing you need to do is focus on finding profitable products to help your business to grow. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So we recommend My Fulfillment Team. You can go to bit.ly/myfulfillment-team prep center and check them out. Create your account. You have to scroll down to create your account. Explore and see what they can do for you, because they are an amazing group of people. They've actually been running their prep center for about, I think, 12 years. So, and they also, early in the game, they were the ones that were teaching a lot of other prep centers. Some of them are no longer in business today. So they've been doing this for a while. This is their specialty. This is what they do. I think outsourcing to a prep center is the smartest move for this Q4 versus sending your inventory into Amazon. Because again, if something happens with the third round or second round of COVID-19, they are going to be SOL. They are. That doesn't change what's going to happen meaning they're going to slow down the process. That's what I mean. It's going to be slow. It's going to be slow check-in. It's going to be potentially slow sending the items to the customer. And so the great thing about a prep center is they can get it to UPS, FedEx, USPS faster than Amazon can get it to USPS and FedEx and all of them. And that doesn't change how much time it takes UPS, FedEx, and USPS to get it to the customer after it's in their hands. But if it's an additional 5 or 10 day delay in the Amazon warehouse to get it to at least the FedEx, UPS, and USPS, and it only takes a prep center 2 days to get it there or 1 day to get it there, that means it's going to get to your customer faster. And when it gets to your customer faster, that means Amazon's going to release that money to you much faster. Amazon's not going to release the money if it says the customer's not going to get their stuff until August the 21st. You got to wait until the customer has received the product before Amazon's going to release any funds or even pay you. So you get your money back faster if you go to a prep center. That's just a fact. So I would encourage you to do that. Set up an account. Consider doing it. Consider taking this time, taking August the 1st through September 30th and getting a VA in place and also establishing an account with the prep center. So for next week, I hope that information was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat. Tell me what questions you have. For next week, we really want you to increase the number of items that you listed from last week. We want you to make sure that on a daily basis, when you get up in the morning, check your why, put it somewhere where you can see it, whether it's on your bathroom wall, maybe it's on your bedroom wall, maybe it's on your dream board chart, whatever. You need to be plugging into your why on a regular basis. You should also be checking your daily numbers. Make sure you attend the Q&A sessions. Remember, we have them. They're for you. So they're every Saturday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, and they're also on Tuesdays at 9:30 Central Standard Time. So check that out. Rewatch this video. You can literally you could listen to it all the way through. Renata was there, which I thank you again, Renata. Or you can, just watch from the point of when the session starts. But really explore getting a VA and really explore outsourcing to a prep center so you can scale. That's ultimately what you're doing in your business. You're scaling. And again, don't do any of this if you feel like you're not at a place that you are ready to do it. You can do it on a miniature scale, but if you don't feel like you're 100% ready to do it, then step backwards. Remember, you sometimes have to step backwards to slingshot forward. And a slingshot goes really fast. So if you have to step backwards a little bit, it means your productivity is slower this week or this month, and your sales are lower this month, this week, just so you can propel yourself forward much faster, then do that. It'll be worth it, definitely worth it. Check the membership site for any resources and templates, and also join the Facebook group if you have not already done so. So what questions do we have for today? Prep Center is a way to go. Yes, absolutely. Make sure you're able to, do fulfillment for toys for Q4. Absolutely. So you got to reach your numbers. You have to meet your numbers. I got to go find that post on what the numbers are. I don't remember what the numbers are. So hold on, let me see if I can find that post.
I'm pulling it up now, Nicole. It's pretty long. I don't know if you want me to put it here in the chat or if you want me to put it in the group, but I have all of the.
I was gonna pull it up inside of the. Let me see. Let me stop sharing for just a second. So I'll pull it up in.
You want me to just send it to you and you can put it wherever you want?
I'm going to the group now. I think I'm in the Facebook group. My computer is just like, what are you trying to do? So much. Did you find it?
Yeah, I have it. I didn't know what you wanted me to do with it.
Oh, send me the permalink or where it is. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have the permalink. I just had what I posted in the group.
Oh, okay. Ready. Well, hold on. So your dates are, you have to have 25 merchant fulfilled or seller fulfilled orders between August the 15th and October the 14th. That is so easy to meet. It says your first sale must be prior to September the 1st. So if you've been playing around in your business, this is the time in which to get your first sale done. So you have 1 full month starting today. You got 31 days to get a sale on Amazon. Okay? Your first sale must be prior to September the 1st. And then you need to make sure between August the 15th and October the 14th that you've had at least 25 sales. That's totally doable. That's absolutely totally doable. That's 2 whole months. Okay? So even if you sell 2 items a week for 2 whole months, you got this. So work at that, or 3 items. Yeah. So work at that is 3, not 2. And try to reach those numbers, because you definitely want to hit your numbers. You want to hit the mark. So what questions do you have for me? And was this information helpful? Was it helpful to learn about prep centers, or was it helpful to learn about getting a VA? Was any of this helpful to you? Will you use this information in any kind of way? Are you still there? Remember the cartoon, Are You Still There, Margaret? I remember that cartoon. Or the book, Are You Still There, Margaret? Any thoughts, questions, concerns, opinions, feelings, anything that you want to share, discuss, ask? Very helpful. I hope that you all will take this information and really apply it, even if you do it on a gradual scale. I mean, even if you only get a VA that you can hire to do 10 hours a week in your business, it's a start. And just imagine what your business will look like next year if you start off with the 10 hours. I will give you one of my little secrets. So what I do is I make sure that when I'm hiring a VA, that I have the money up front for the entire time in which I plan to have them. So an example would be when I said that I hired VAs, or hired, remote workers from the middle of October to the beginning of December. And so I would make sure I already had that money sitting in the hopper on the side, so that no matter what, if something crazy happened, if the car broke down, if the ceiling fell in, that no matter what, that money was already there, so that they could help me keep my business going no matter what happened, whether my son went in the hospital, anything. So I tried to make sure that I would eliminate all excuses to anything potentially happening. And that is one of my strategies. So if you're going to hire a VA for 10 hours a week or whatever, or 10 hours a month or whatever it looks like, make sure you have the money up front. If you're running to do that for Q4 and you're like, okay, it's going to cost me $100 every single month. I'm just giving some hypothetical numbers. So let's say it's $100 in September, August, and $100 September, $100 October, November, December. Then put $500 aside and just have it on the side, so that way you are 100% ready for whatever. I won't say 1,000%. I would say you're as close to as ready as possible for whatever life throws at you, because life will throw some stuff at you. Life will throw some stuff at you. So that's what I would highly recommend. So here's the post. It's inside of the Academy. And this is the post that I'm talking about. Larry posted it 3 days ago. If you're not part of the Academy, we encourage you to join us. But and it's great, because the great thing about the Academy, you get access to all of our Academy workshops absolutely free, and you get all of the stuff from the listing party and the auto and gating party. But this is where it says that you have to have sold your first item by September the 1st. You need to make sure that you have at least 25 seller fulfill orders between the 15th and the 14th. Your cancel rate and your pre-fill rate has to be a certain threshold, no greater than 1.75. And you can't have any late shipments, is no greater than 4%. So they're giving you these time frames, and then also the order defect rate. So all of this matters. But if you've got some great products, this will be easy to reach. So then the key is not to mess up with the remaining 3 bullets. That's the key, is not to mess up, to make sure you ship on time, make sure that your products are packaged well and that they don't have low ratings. This is where I will tell you, make sure you are not selling items that have a rating of 3 or below. Like, always try to make sure you're selling items that are 4 or above, 4 or 5, because in that way, that's going to reduce your defect rate, like your chances of getting in trouble with your defect rate. So that's one of my inside tips.
Nicole, can I interject for just a second? Because I didn't hear if you went through the reasons they want to merchant fulfill during Q4, because I know we talk a lot about prep centers and that sort of thing, but Bertina was saying
Go ahead.
Bertina was just saying she didn't quite understand all the numbers, but for the pre-fulfillment cancel rate, that means that you don't go cancel that order before you send it. If you have to cancel an order for some reason or refund someone's money after you've shipped, that's different than when a customer places an order and then you hit cancel and you've never, even if you've communicated with the customer, you don't want to have to do that. So you want the buyer to either cancel or you want to have already ship them something and maybe give them some sort of refund. And then again, this time frame is leading into the holiday, so everything kind of cuts off at October 14th. After October 14th, if you've not met these requirements, then all of your listings in the toys category will become inactive. Your merchant fulfill listings.
Yeah.
You will not be allowed to sell those items merchant fulfill. And the reason is Amazon wants to make sure that their customers, these are Amazon's customers, remember that they're getting their items on time during the holidays. They don't want, they want you to have a bit of history. That's what they're looking for. They want to make sure that in the months leading up to the holidays that you've fulfilled some orders, that you fulfilled them on time, that you're not canceling out on people, that kid that really, really wanted that hot item. And then the parent is like, yes, I found it. I scored it. I got a great deal on Amazon, even though it's 10 times the retail rate. And then only to come back a day later and see that the order is canceled and they got to start all over. So they want to minimize that, those type of experiences for the customer so that they're optimizing the customer experience. So you just want to make sure as a seller that Amazon, and this is always, but during the holidays, they have a lot of metrics around it and they track everything.
Yeah, they do track everything. So a good rule of thumb is, one, just to make sure that you're shipping all of your stuff immediately when you get a sale. When this window starts, when August the 15th starts, you cannot be late shipping one thing. Do not be late. Ship it as quickly as you can. I mean, I always give it like a 4-hour window that says, hey, I don't want it anymore. But ship things as quickly as you can possibly ship them.
And make sure you use your confirm shipping feature as well. They've changed things some on that, but if you're out, you're out shopping or doing whatever, you're not going to be home for 12 hours, but you know exactly where that item is and it's coming up on, time for it to go out, you're getting near your window. You click on confirm shipping, Amazon sees it as shipped, so you don't get dinged for your metrics, but you won't be able to go back in later on and buy shipping from Amazon. You'll have to have a different platform to actually ship it on. But Amazon will see it as shipped on time if you take care of that.
Right. And the other thing is we're going to be teaching shipping in the next 2 weeks inside the Academy. So if you haven't signed up for that, I would encourage you to do that. That way you can find out what other alternate shipping options are available to you. And then the other thing is the other reason that we're not listed was they want to make sure that their customers get their stuff on time. And they don't want a bunch of sellers jumping in just because it's Q4 to make a bunch of money and then abandon or strand a bunch of customers' orders. I want to say that's been, there's just a lot of activity because it's Q4, a lot more weirdness happens. So they're trying to protect themselves as well. So your goal is, one, don't source anything that the rating is below 3 or below 4. 2,
stars.
Yeah, stars. It's stars on the product. 2, make sure you ship it as soon as somebody buys it. Ship it within, at least respond within 4 hours of somebody buying it. I always, wait until that 4 hour, sometimes 6-hour window, and then I mark it so that way I got it, and I make sure I try and get it out as quickly as possible. And that, and then if you're doing that, you don't have to worry about bullet number 4 or the last bullet number 5, which is defect rate, because you're not going to have as many returns. You won't have to worry about late shipments because you got it out as quickly as possible. and you won't have to worry about cancellations because you're not going to be listing anything where you have to cancel the order. So again, if you focus on if the main thing is the main thing, then it takes care of all of that. It's not your concern. It won't be your problem. Now, if something else happens like with UPS, USPS, FedEx, that's a different story because those are things that are outside of our control. But at least your part that you can control is taken care of. And remember that when you go with the prep center, when they're sending stuff to your customer, that is still considered seller fulfilled or merchant fulfilled. So if you get a really good quality prep center that's actually sending stuff out on a timely basis, and you get invited to do seller fulfilled Prime, then again, that's a great thing for you because then you're going to get the Prime logo, and that's just awesome. That's 9 levels of awesome right there. So it still will be considered merchant fulfilled when you go with the prep center. It will not be considered FBA when you go with the prep center. It's only FBA if you send it into Amazon. Are there any other questions we can help answer? All right. So I hope this information was truly helpful to you. I hope that you will use it. If you're not part of the Academy, please join the Academy. We encourage you to. We have made it extremely affordable because we want to help and bless as many people as possible. So feel free to invite somebody to join you on your journey if you're in the Academy. We love supporting and serving people. And don't forget about the Q&A times. They are still there. So I'll be manning the phones at 2 o'clock this afternoon. If you think of something, let me know. Thank you for your patience, your grace and mercy, and your understanding for earlier. I sincerely do apologize for that. All right. Well, bye for now.
Y'all have a great Saturday.
Absolutely. Thank you again.